this.
Christina, hello. You're on mute.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good.
I used to work together years ago.
Very nice. Mrs. Thomas, did we hear from Mrs. Urban? Do we know if she'll be joining us this evening?
No, I have not heard from her.
Okay. I'll note that the time is 7:01, so if you'll start the recording, I'll call the meeting to order. Good evening. I'd like to call the January 7, 2021 meeting of the University Heights Planning Commission to order. Mrs. Thomas, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Brennan,
Here.
Mrs. Urban, Mr. Szymborski,
Here.
Mr. Fine. You're on mute. Here. Mr. Rock,
No, I'm here though.
Here.
And it looks
Miss-
like Mr.
Mrs. Urban,
Here.
We note that we have quorum without a quorum. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We have a set of minutes from the December 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Planning Commission that was distributed with the agenda and the packet. Are there any changes? And if not, is there a motion to adopt?
Mayor, there was one change.
Yeah.
I had erred and I put 27,000 for the size of the houses, 27 and 28, when it should be 2,700 and 2,800.
Yes. Thank you.
That was, Mr. Szymborski brought that to my attention.
Yes.
Say it's a big house.
Or anywhere, much less here. All right. Very good. Are there any other changes? All right, is there a motion to adopt?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 5th.
I think we're looking at December 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What was the date? I'm sorry.
December 3rd, 2020. The November 5th meetings.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Szymborski to approve the minutes of December 3rd, 2020 as amended. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Rock. Discussion, Mrs. Thomas, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Brennan,
Yes.
Mrs. Urban, Mrs. Urban,
Sorry, yes.
that's good. Mr. Szymborski,
Yes.
Mr. Fine, Mr. Rock,
Yes.
Very good. When minutes are approved. Tonight's agenda item is item A, recommendation to City Council for the site plan approval from Knez Home for South Taylor Place condominium. Who do we have this evening to present on this item?
Evening, Mayor. This is Michael David with Knez. Also on the call with me are Hannah Cohen from Knez, along with Christina and Garrett from Sixmo. They're our architects for the project. A little background for any of you that aren't familiar with Knez Homes. We are a residential builder and land development company out of Concord, Ohio. We've been in business for over 30 years. The latter half of those 30 have been doing urban development, urban infill, townhome communities in um, relatively small parcels, a lot of density. So we've become well known for that. And over the past year, we've been working with the city of University Heights on this piece that we're going to be presenting to you tonight, South Taylor Place. We feel that it meets some of the goals of the city, including I noticed that the city's in the process of a study for the Taylor Road corridor. I think it meets the goals for that of putting some redevelopment to underutilized land and near some different modes of transportation. So we're excited about that as well. I don't know if there's anything else that I wanted to bring up before turning it over to Hannah. Oh, prior to being here tonight, we did submit the project to city engineering along with the fire department and police department to solicit any of their comments and address any of those before this meeting as well. So with that little bit of background, I'll turn it over to Hannah to present kind of the context and site layout for the project.
Thanks, Mike. Can we get our presentation up on the screen, or should I do that?
Yeah, I think so. Kelly, can you make?
Screen share's on.
Oh, okay, very
Okay.
good.
And let us know if you want us to ask questions as you go along, or if we should hold those to the end.
I'm comfortable with whatever works for the group. If you want to just jump in and ask as we go, that might be easiest.
I just want to make sure with the mayor what he would want to do
Oh, I'm sorry.
as well.
Yeah, well, Hannah, if you're presenting, I would leave the preference to you if you are happy to address questions as they come up. And then feel free to point out if it's something you'll be getting to.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds
All
good.
right. So our project, we're calling it South Taylor Place. It's a 1.2 acre site. You can see the site location here. It's a little zoomed out, but it sits between Taylor Road and Wynn Road. It's in the northwest corner of the city, just on the Cleveland Heights border. These are some site context photos. You can see photos from South Taylor, Wynn, and Washington. Our site is bordering the education center to the north, residential area to the south and southeast, and then the commercial district on Taylor to the south and west sides of the property.
And remind me, does the laundromat go down or does that stay?
That stays. That's off of our parcel.
Is this the Kenny Kings or not the Kenny Kings, the Kentucky Fried Chicken or something site?
No, this is
We're
north.
not-
This is
There's
just,
no buildings on the site. The site's
Got it. Sorry, I'm one street over. I've done this for my entire life with Cedar and Taylor. Yeah,
just south of the Delisle Center.
shame on me.
That's all right.
So this is our proposed site plan. We're proposing a 30-unit townhouse development. We think that townhouses are a great fit for this site because it sort of sits in between the residential neighborhood and that commercial district on Taylor. So we think it's a great bridge between a mix of some higher density residential that creates a nice transition into the commercial district. The zoning on the site is the residential attached district. So this is a permitted, residential attached units are a permitted use in the zone, in the zoning district. Our units will be fee simple, so they're not condos. They'll be owner owned. They own the building, they own the land underneath their building. And then there will be an HOA that will handle maintenance and maintain all of the common area around the buildings. We believe that our site plan complies with the district requirements in terms of compatibility, site layout, building features, circulation, and parking. For the compatibility, I'm going to turn it over to our architects in a few minutes, and they will go into the details of the buildings a bit more. I'm just going to take you through the site plan to start off. Our site layout is meant to, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. Meant to address both of the streets that our property is on. So we have units 1 through 8, you can see fronting on Taylor Street, and then units 23 through 30 that front on Wynn Street. We also have created a central public courtyard in the center of the site. So there's 2 groups of units that face each other in the middle of the site with a shared green space and pedestrian walkway in the center. We also have 2 park areas that would be open to the public as well as for use of the residents. One you can see in the northwest corner and then again in the southeast corner. We're proposing a single.
Well, you have the site plan up and on Taylor Road. Can you explain to me the strip on the front? And what's going on there?
Here.
Yeah.
So this would be.
I just want to know if it's compatible with the rendering that shows an actual tree lawn.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's kind of the graphic. So we will continue the existing sidewalk where it is, and up until over here at Unit 8, there is an existing tree lawn that would be maintained.
So
I
there
believe-
will be a tree lawn, unlike what we did to Cedar Road. There will be a tree lawn.
That's our intention. If there's
No, I just want
desire
to know. I want to, because I think what we did at Cedar Road is unfortunate, that we just made it all concrete and that there's no separation, no barrier, no psychological barrier or green barrier between the street and the sidewalk. And I can't tell from this drawing, it doesn't show a tree lawn.
It's in that photograph there. It might be a little hard to see,
Right.
but our intention is to leave the tree lawn where the tree lawn exists. You can see the concrete at the very northern tip is extended to the street. That's existing. If you
Okay.
want, we could take that concrete out to our property line, but actually
I
this
would just ask
dash
that you clarify the drawing in.
line- Okay, absolutely.
Because we've gotten burned before.
Okay. And this dashed line here is actually, that's the city border. So our buildings are all staying on the University Heights side of the property, but this corner of the property is in Cleveland Heights. So we'll be coordinating with them on the park design as well. We focused a lot on this design on the pedestrian experience of the site and the pedestrian circulation. We have access from all sides of the property. There's an existing public pedestrian walk on the property that we border to the north at the education center. So our intent is to link up to that path and extend it out to Taylor. And that's part of our pocket park design there. We're also trying to do some interesting features with the landscaping in the center courtyard. And then we have our second pocket park down here in the southeast corner.
Quick question. What makes the pet area a pet area? It doesn't, visually, it's doesn't look any different from other park area in the drawing.
We're proposing some benches there. It's really open space. We just want to propose different potential uses for the residents so that there's options for them. But it would really just be some open grass area with benches that you could sit and take your pet.
So no proposed fencing or anything like that.
We don't have any fencing proposed right now. We do have a landscape plan later in our presentation, and particularly at the southeast corner of our site, we are bordering one single family residence. So we are proposing a pretty heavy landscape screen there. If there was a desire for fencing, that's something that we're open to. We're not currently proposing it because we don't want to feel like the site is walled off or closed off and that the pedestrian paths are totally private. But we are open to fencing if you think that's desirable.
Just your planning, I would encourage you to, those cars in those garages, when they have to back out and somehow get out of that space and they don't have a space to back, turn their car, you might want to look at that because they're either going to hit a dumpster or they're going to back into something else. I mean, it's just the hydraulics of a movement of a car. And then I don't know where your snow removal goes, but I would just encourage you to look at those things.
Yes, our HOA will do snow removal and they will truck the snow off-site if they don't have anywhere to put it. The vehicular turnarounds, we have 27 feet from garage to garage, which is actually pretty wide for some of our townhouse developments. We have our typical turnaround that we would do is 20 feet, so we're confident and comfortable that they'll be able to turn around in a 27-foot area.
It's just those end units, unit 1 and unit 8, and unit 8 backs out, and it's, as long as you got it thought through. I've worked on this stuff, and usually there's a way for the rear of the car to swing, and it's going to hit that dumpster or something. But if you've worked it out, that's great.
Okay, thank you. On the topic of the vehicular ingress and egress, we have our one single curb cut to minimize curb cuts, which is part of the goals of the residential attached zoning district. So that's coming in off Wynn Road. One of the things that we spoke about in our prior meeting with some of the city officials, the fire chief had some concerns about the width of the drive and the turning radius. So since that meeting, we have widened our drive to 26 feet, which will accommodate the ladder truck, which I believe is his largest truck. And we have accommodated the turning radius that he's looking for. So those 27-foot aisles allow that large ladder truck to get in and out. So we believe we have that completely resolved and complying with the fire code requirements that he was mentioning to us previously.
So just for me to clarify, where you're showing, the light green and that park on the corner, that's something you would deal with Cleveland Heights on.
We're presenting it to you. We're also going to present it to them just because it's in their city. I don't know that they'll have much of a hand in it, but we just want to make sure everybody involved is on board with it.
Got it.
It's currently open green space, so it won't be a dramatic change. We'll just be adding features, adding more walkways, adding landscaping, and adding some trees to it. So hopefully it's a welcome addition. Are there any other questions on the site plan?
Yes. And I'm glad Mr. Szymborski brought up the topic of backing in and out of these garages. And 27 is probably generous. I mean, I've seen them at 24 feet, so that could work. But throughout the site itself, there's a couple little nuances that I have. Like if you're walking your dog, between like units like 19 and on your hands on, I think it's 12. Like it's just, you're walking on the street there. I mean, I almost feel like there needs to be a sidewalk even within the site. Maybe that sidewalk that's from Taylor Road where that grassy opening is to take you into the site, and then all the way through Wynn, so that when you're walking your pet, you're not on a street. I'm not sure where there's guest parking. Do you have guest parking planned for this site?
We don't have any guest parking proposed. Just to back up real quick to your prior comment is we do have a walk from Taylor here at Unit 1 that comes into the center of the site and continues to Wynn. And we also have the entry at the north side. So we have two different pathways through and across. And our goal with where those pedestrian walks are is to keep them separate from the vehicular traffic. We really don't want to encourage people to be walking in the drive lane. We want them to be walking on the pedestrian paths, cars in the drive lane, and keep everything separated.
But if I'm a guest of Unit 12, and I don't know, let's say I park on Wynn, I'm going to be walking right in the street there to get to Unit 12.
I mean, we would encourage people to use the existing sidewalks. There is an existing walk here from Wynn. That's what we're connecting to on this northern end of the site that will bring you into our site.
I just don't know how many people would actually go all the way around. I just feel there just needs to be another sidewalk in that middle road.
What we've done in the past is we have used stamped concrete in the drive lane to designate a walking path that gives pedestrians a cue of where they should be walking, but also leaves that width that we need for the fire department to be able to get in and out. So we could look at doing something like that up the central driveway that would just give people a queue of where to walk and cars a queue of where not to drive, but still be open for emergency situations.
I think that would be acceptable because
Okay.
Could you give
I
me
can tell you people will be
How-
walking in that street.
how wide a unit is? Is it 20 feet or 24 foot wide?
These units are 20 feet wide and the
Okay.
bulk of them are 40 feet deep. We have one larger unit,
Okay.
you can see the southeast corner, unit 23. And
Got it. So generally they're 20 feet. Okay. And
Yeah.
what's the space between units 5 and 4? How wide is that?
I believe it's 6 feet. Sorry, let me just,
Wow.
I'm sorry,
go
8
back?
feet.
Can you go back to your rendering?
Yes, and we have elevations and renderings to go
No,
through.
no, I know. I just want to go back to the rendering for a second.
This one.
So, yeah, so the space between the units there looks like a full unit. Right? In the rendering.
It should be correct per the site plan. Christina or Garrett, I don't know if you could address that.
I'm just saying, when I look at that rendering, it looks like that gap is the width of a whole unit, a whole townhouse. Unless I'm reading it wrong.
I don't know if that's maybe just the angle. We can go through to some other renderings we
No,
have.
I saw all those. I just want, pictures worth 1,000 words, and I want things to be, if I'm wrong, great. I just want things to be super clear. Like that shows a tree lawn. And
Yes.
so we're going to expect a tree lawn.
Yes.
Okay.
So what's the point of the tree lawn then if you can't walk on it? Why not just make the units bigger at that point?
Are you talking about, we're talking about, I think, the tree lawn between the sidewalk and the street.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
John,
4 and
yeah.
5.
Yeah.
I'm
Between,
so sorry. Could you repeat that, please?
between units 4 and 5, where you have a opening, which I thought would have been a place where guests who park on Taylor can walk through the site, but that's not going to be the case. Then what's the point of that grassy area?
There's a number of reasons we like to do our townhomes in smaller groupings. Usually prefer groups of 3 or 4. It's easier for us from a constructability perspective. We get more end units that have more windows, which are more desirable. And the way we do our financing for these projects is we try to pre-sell the units before we start building each building. So it's a lot easier to pre-sell 2 out of 4 units than it is to pre-sell 5 out of 10 if they're all in one building. So it just gives us a little more flexibility with the way our internal operations work.
So do you actually have windows on those side walls of 4 and 5?
We do. All of the sidewalls have windows.
That's a tight space. That's not, you've done more of this maybe than I have, but that's not a very desirable space, 8 foot wide by however tall it is, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons we didn't put a pedestrian path there. I wouldn't encourage that to be a main thoroughfare, and I wouldn't want pedestrians walking through a narrow space right into a drive lane. So that's why we're trying to push the pedestrian circulation to the perimeter of the site.
Maybe this is a question for the owner or the builder. Is 30, the site just seems so dense. I know I get it, what you're trying to do, but is 30 units the thing that pencils out? If it was 28, would this work still?
We've been through the site plan a number of times. We worked with community development over the past year and have done a couple different iterations of it. And this is where we've settled that we're comfortable, works for our economic side of it. And we think it provides a nice amount of green space also. So, we're comfortable with the density we build on a lot tighter sites typically. So we're not shy about the density here, and we're comfortable that there is a nice, generous amount of green space for the residents as well.
Mayor, it might be helpful to provide a little bit of history about how the site plan or how the land itself came to be put together, assembled. This has all been vacant land. It currently consists of multiple parcels. It formerly was a mix of parcels owned by the city and owned by the school district. The city deeded its parcels into the city's Community Improvement Corporation. and then worked out an agreement with the school district, whereby the school district essentially gifted their parcels into the city's CIC with deed restrictions attached to the parcels, requiring that they be developed within a certain period of time. The developer's intention, as I understand it, is to come back to us at some later point after site plan approval to submit lot consolidation and lot split plats so that they can sell individual lots to each owner of the units. And as we began to undertake the process of putting all this land back to use, we brought the residential attached zoning district regulations to Planning Commission. And that was probably maybe over a year ago now, when Planning Commission reviewed and commented on those regulations. And really, I think it's fair to say that we contemplated this type of density. So that's a little bit of history in terms of how the land has been sitting vacant and how it was assembled and what the city's intention was in terms of its use.
Thank you. Thank you, Luke.
You know, I'd like to go echo what my colleague was saying about the density, and I'm all for density, but what I do have a concern with it, since there is no guest parking, you know, what's the thought about removing 2 units, say, I don't know, 12 and 19, to create some additional guest parking on site? Because if I own one of these units, that would be a turnoff for me, that I can't have people over.
Sure.
So I could jump in.
Oh.
So we sell a lot of these, or we build a lot of these townhome developments on tight sites. And generally our clients that buy this type of product know the kind of experience that they're going to get. Either they're clients that use multiple forms of transportation, so maybe they don't have 2 cars, maybe, you know, maybe they have an extra space in the garage where a guest can park, or they're just aware of what it's like to be in city living, and that isn't a major concern for them when they're buying one of our townhomes like this.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not one spot. It's not like there's like 5 spots. There's not even one spot.
We do feel that there is ample street parking surrounding the site. There's street parking that is frequently available on Taylor. There's also parking available on Wynn. We did discuss at our prior meeting with some of the other city departments, potentially looking at opening, currently Wynn Road is available for parking on the east side, but potentially looking at opening it on the west side as well if it became a concern. But again, as Mike said, our clients that are buying these townhouses, they kind of know what they're getting into, and it hasn't been an issue for us in the past. And for us, I don't think that surface parking is the best use of the space on this site. We'd like to dedicate it to more residents and to more green space and keep our focus there.
So I have a question. You have, to the north of this is that big open site and the school sitting in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you ever just look at turning these townhouses along the 90 degrees? So there's a long bar across I'll call it the north property line that looks right into all that green land?
We looked at a number of different site plan configurations, and ultimately we thought this was the most successful. We like the experience of that courtyard so that the buildings are oriented so that the front doors are always facing other front doors or they're facing a main street. Those units that look towards the green space do have ample side windows, so they will get to enjoy that nice view. But we, again, ultimately felt like this was the most successful site configuration that we could come up with.
Well, okay.
You know, Paul, I was thinking that same thing too. If you had, you know, these front doors facing this park area, which is more attractive. I mean,
It's right
I don't
there
know
for
what
you.
the distance is between 15 and 22 and 14 and 21 there, because it's pretty tight. Um,
I'm just saying it's right there for you. And if you had a drive, you know, that went right through, all the way through to Taylor, then I don't have dead ends with snow plows and dead ends with cars trying to park and, you know, and I still would have what you're looking for if I just turned the whole thing in some ways 90 degrees and then had a little bit of fun with it. Creative.
I agree. I mean, you would lose a
That's
couple of
been a
units, but
thing.
then you'd have more room for amenities such as parking.
We did discuss the idea of extending the drive through to Taylor, and ultimately that was not preferred. There's some security concerns with that from the police department, and also some concerns from the city in general about that becoming a cut through. We don't want to encourage cut through traffic there.
You know, but the city of University Heights is not about cul-de-sacs. It's about, and the reason we never have a traffic jam in University Heights is because all the streets cut through. And I bet you there's a way to do that. So we hold on to, you know, really what streets are supposed to be and not create bottlenecks, you know, when you have cul-de-sacs and everybody coming in one way or the out. I mean, I would fight for that. That's just good planning. And I would encourage you, and I know I'm not here for this, but you know, this is my city for all these years. I would encourage you to look at this at 90 degrees and I bet you can create some wonderful green spaces and still have some of the things you're looking at and reduce the amount of pavement you're creating. But continue on. I'm happy to share my ideas.
I do believe if we turned those units 90 degrees, we'd be increasing the amount of drive lane because you'd have to reach all of those garages and we'd be losing probably more density than we can afford to lose to make this project work.
I'd be happy to send you a sketch, you know, just a thought, you know, it's just for your consideration.
Okay.
I want it to be better and great. And I think the end units, you know, if the sides of the end units can face Taylor, they could be fabulous end units rather than just a flat wall with a window in it. You know, real gateways to Taylor, real gateways to Wynn, real gateways to this development.
We do. I mean, our units are facing Taylor and Wynn. What you're saying is they're not facing the educational center to the north. But
I'm
we
just
have
saying you got this-
front doors on Taylor and front doors on
I know.
Wynn. We
I know. I'm
did feel like
saying-
it was very important to address the streets and keep that street front, particularly on Taylor.
Well, I think it's okay to address the street, but you know, having bedrooms on the first floor, 10 feet away from Taylor Road seems strange to me. But
Primary bedrooms are on the third floors. The first floor is a flex space. It could be converted into a bedroom, but the base model is an office or a bonus room down there.
okay. Why don't you continue? I'll suspend my thoughts for now.
Okay, I'm going to just go through the rest of our slides and then we can circle back to this if there's more questions. This is just to show you, this is a preliminary layout of what the plat would be for this. Again, the units are divided up fee simple, and then there's a common area that encompasses the rest of the land, and which again is maintained by the HOA. I'm going to turn it over to our architects, Christina and Garrett, to take you through the architecture and the design of the buildings themselves, the materials and the landscaping. And if you guys just want to let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
So this is our elevation along South Taylor Road. What we were trying to do is keep the traditional forms that match the context of the city, but seeing as though they are townhouses, they are a more modern kind of project. They do have a modern feel to them as well. They have oversized windows, open floor plans, just simplicity, but still have that traditional context. So the front elevations on Taylor, they have brick and siding. They have a covered front stoop, some added detail in the pediments with brackets. So you can go ahead, Hannah.
I just have a comment here, and I guess I'm just a little disappointed in that when Knez came to us, the city council, gosh, probably 2 years ago now, you know, we were promised that these would be views of downtown from the roof deck. And these are pitched roofs along the street edge. And they're beautiful, don't get me wrong. It makes a beautiful townhouse look. And anywhere that would just be terrific. But, you know, I've been touting this as a townhomes with downtown views, and the roof decks face the parking lot, or non-parking lot, the driveways. So what's the thought as to why we had to pitch the roof and put the roof deck behind?
So there was a couple reasons that we went for this aesthetic. The main one was that the pitched roofs fit into the context of University Heights well, in our opinion. The roof decks do end up facing both ways because the units are flipped two directions, so they are oriented towards the drive, but they're two different directions on the buildings overall. But the basic thought is that it would be an option, so it helps us, again, control the price point for our clients as well. So you could buy a unit that just has a pitched roof, looks lovely from the front, or you can choose to buy it with the roof deck. So it'll be up to the customer if they're going to have that roof deck or not. And we like the pitched roof for that because it allows the building to look from the front and on the street side the same, no matter what the clients pick. And then sort of hidden in the roof line in the back is that roof deck. So it allows a seamless appearance in the front of the buildings, and it allows the customers a little bit more customization.
I guess I was just really excited when they sold the project years back that having the roof deck with the views, I was almost envisioning that they would be flipped. The roof deck would be facing the street, and it would be great. You'd be up there with your cocktail and you have this urban experience. You watch people walk by and you're watching the sunset, and that's not the case now. So now I'm going to be facing the people across the driveway on their roof decks. It's not what I was expecting this to be when this was revealed to us a couple years ago.
And John, if you guys are told that, you know, we shouldn't just roll over, you know, and I think this could be better. And I'd sure as heck rather be looking at the city than looking at a driveway with 1,000 cars in it.
I wish I had that rendering. I don't remember what you provided. It wasn't I think it was just a site plan, but it was the idea of this being this Cedar Taylor place, where this is a place and this is going to engage the corner, and this is going to, I don't know, and it's pretty, don't get me wrong. These are beautiful renderings, and this is going to be a great place somewhere. For this site, I was really excited about the engagement with and the views of downtown, which we don't have here. I mean, maybe you can see it through these third floor windows. I don't know. This is what, a 2-story building across the street, but I mean, lop off those gables and put a roof deck on top of that, and you got yourself a view.
Yeah, I will say, John, Mr. Rock, that is what came up in the preliminary discussions, and it is something that I still find interesting and compelling. You know, I would be, there is a way to still do that. I mean, this does have a great look, like you said, but you know, it did come up also even before, when we were having our pre-administrative review, as to whether you would have those views from the decks, and I'm not sure if we would, and I think that's worth further examination if that's something that is important. I wasn't sure if that wasn't something I thought of that I clinged on to and nobody else did, but hearing you say it now, then it wasn't just me. You know, that maybe this is something we should be taking a closer look at or further look at.
And it could happen at end units. So it could be, you know, maybe there's relief where there's that slot between 4 and 5, and it's, you know, it's not every unit, but it's this and that unit. But, you know, you could do more. And if this was talked about, you should explore it.
Yeah, I apologize if there was communication. I don't believe I was involved in those meetings, so I can circle back with some other people in our office to get a better understanding of what was discussed. But from our perspective, we like the flexibility of having the roof decks be an option for the customer, not necessarily built into it, because it allows us to offer them a more attractive price point, and it allows it to appeal to a broader audience. So from a saleability perspective, it's nice to be able to offer it without the roof deck to get people in that want to be in there. And then if someone has the ability to upgrade it and to get that roof deck, then we can also get them in there with the extra amenities.
And what is the price point you're targeting?
We haven't narrowed it down yet. It's going to, one, depend on making sure that we can achieve the density that we're proposing. So we will narrow that down probably after these meetings.
I mean, can you benchmark for me? Are we talking the 4s, the 5s, the 6?
No, I believe we would be starting probably in the mid 3s would be my preliminary guess, depending on how the things pan out.
It might be worth getting a drone and seeing, go up on the 3rd floor, you know, the height off the thing and see what the views are. And then you could come back and say, guys, you know, it's never going to work. Or, hey, guys, you were right. The late Peter Van Dyke had a house on Chestnut Hill, and his deck was on the 2nd floor. And the views to the city were just spectacular. So as John's saying, wow, really be something. But get a drone, get up there and see if we're above. That's for you. That's a heck of a ficus you're showing there on the left side of that rendering, by the way. That doesn't exist, does it? That's a tree, a new tree? Yeah. Okay. I want to see
Over here.
I want to see that thing I want to see that ficus in 50 years. Ficus doesn't grow here, but that's what it looks like. But go ahead.
Christina, do you want to pick back up with the elevations?
Sure. Okay, so you can go to the next slide. So the interior courtyard elevations, these are all sided buildings, but with the same look as the South Taylor Road buildings.
Vinyl or hardy board or what?
We were looking at vinyl. And this will,
And thin brick, right? This isn't even real, it's thin brick?
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hannah. This is Wind Road, so same aesthetic. Typical side elevations, you can see how the roof deck is just a minor tweak of a side elevation of a unit without a roof deck. And then unit 23 being our unique unit. It's a larger footprint and it's a visual block for the residential home to the south so that they aren't looking down the driveway of this
I'm not
development.
here to comment on architecture, but I think those end elevations could be, you know, should be a canvas for you guys. If you want to raise more money, do great design. You know, you want to sell these things for more stuff. You know, anyway, I'm just trying to raise the bar. End elevations. Use the opportunity.
Just a quick question about the windows. The drawing shows the windows with the grids, and then the drawing will be accurate, right? You're doing kind of the historic leaning windows
Yep.
with grids.
Yep. And they're casement style windows. So typical floor plans. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So you can see there's some options here for the first floor. Second floor is your main living space, all open concept, and your 3rd floor is your bedroom. Then there's an attic option where it's basically just a stair to go up to a little corridor to get to the roof deck. Go ahead. And then just showing some 3rd floor. Next slide. Unit 23 is just a unique unit, so we have a separate we're showing the main living space on the first floor in this building, in this unit, bedrooms on the second and third floor, and the roof deck is on the second floor. And these are the materials, asphalt shingles, very typical residential style materials, vertical vinyl siding, lap siding, thin brick. Everything is, the idea is to have them be low maintenance for these homeowners. So they don't have to worry about painting them or any strenuous upkeep. Landscape plan. Can't really speak too much to landscaping. It's not my, but you can see that buffer down to the south property line. I know those are arborvitaes.
It looks like there's more greenery wrapping the buildings that John was talking about before than the other site plan you showed.
Yeah, this one is an older version of the site plan. We made some tweaks, and one of the major tweaks was the fire department asked for a wider drive lane. So we lost some green space to get that wider drive lane. And these are the renderings. This rendering shows it a little bit better. I wonder if that rendering on the front cover might have been outdated. This one shows that spacing between the two buildings a little more accurately.
Well, just get them consistent.
Right. So
You're saying
here's
that space, that 8 feet between that building?
Mhm.
And you're gonna have windows in there? Wow.
We typically, when the sidewalls are up against each other like that, we'll do more transom windows, so it lets the light in, but it's private, or we'll stagger the windows so you're not looking into your neighbor's unit.
This is Wind Road from this angle. And this is the interior courtyard.
Christina, what's the material around let's call it the entry?
At
is it-
the porch.
Yeah,
So they're going to be composite wrapped columns, vinyl railing, composite decking on the step and the little porch stoop.
It'll be aluminum railing and an AZEK trim with the composite decking.
you know, the beautiful steps here in Cleveland and University Heights are this beautiful one piece of stone. You know, I know we can't afford that anymore. And it's usually this very thin, beautiful black iron railing, you know. I'm just asking you to look at our city and those details. I'm not wearing the architect's hat here. That's others' business, but you know, there's something beautiful about that stuff versus deck and aluminum.
Why the decision to make the special unit have the deck on the lower level versus that higher level that might potentially have that nice view?
It keeps it closer to the main living space. And really, we only have that bump out extending that building to give some more privacy to that residential neighbor. We don't want to build that unit up 3 stories at that size because it just ends up being too much square footage and it's not really saleable at that point. So it just gives a little bit of variety. Again, it only occurs in that one unit. And that unit will have the roof deck no matter what. That's not an option. It will come with that deck.
Just ask you to look at quality over quantity. In the long run, good materials hold up well. And quality lasts. Materials. Tough climate we live in.
If I could just throw one quick thing in there too. One thing I noticed that the front cover image is actually the image of Wynn, not South Taylor. So that's why there's such a large gap between the buildings there, is because what you can't see is the drive on the ground actually. So that's the drive cutting between the two buildings from Wynn, which is why there's so much space in between the two buildings. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. There's that is an updated image. That's not from South Taylor. That's from Wynn, and that would be the Pocket Park entry, kind of on the left-hand side there, to go into that smaller of the two Pocket Parks.
So there's a driveway there between those on the cover.
Yeah. That's why when you look at the South Taylors, what you're actually looking at here is the Wynn entrance of the project.
Okay, maybe best to and that cover label it. Appreciate that clarification.
Are there any other questions that we can help to clarify?
I didn't know what you were looking for this evening.
If you go back to the site plan, unit number 30. Okay, so the property line looks like it starts at like unit 8 at that corner, and it looks like it's a diagonal. Is that correct? So this
is the city line, not the property line. So that's the city boundary of University Heights.
City line.
Property line is this arc up here.
Okay, so we actually could move these units up a little more if we need to.
We started with the units up over the city border, and that was one of the requests in our preliminary meetings, was for us to move all the units south and steer clear of that city boundary. So we already made that opposite adjustment.
And what was the rationale for that?
I think part of the rationale, John, was that was going to give Cleveland Heights quite a bit of say and input into aspects of the site plan that they otherwise really don't have any business commenting on.
Because what I'm suggesting here is that perhaps we could, if that gives us a little more wiggle room, that could address some of the issues such as sidewalk on that center drive. Does the dumpster have to be right there? Because this is a tough one with the dumpster, because it's hard to get to if you're in unit 16. You're going to walk quite a bit, and then if you're backing out of 22, like Mr. Szymborski said, could we provide a little more bump out on that driveway there to make it easier to back out, since we have more land? Additionally, I would like to see that sidewalk up against unit 30 there. No one's going to want to walk all the way up to the school to get to there. And actually, if that's going to just lend itself, people are going to be parking at that school. When I have someone over for dinner, let's say, that's probably where they're going to end up parking. I know you can't park there.
I mean, if there is a potential future issue with the school, that's something that the HOA would be involved in, and they could handle that with the school directly. For us, I think it feels redundant to put a second sidewalk at unit 30 that connects the same exact area from Wynn. It's just a little bit further away.
I get that. I get what you're doing. Yeah.
The dumpsters are just potential. So I think what's more likely is that we would have the HOA do a private trash collection in this, so we wouldn't end up using the dumpsters. We like to have space blocked out in case we need them. Different cities require different things in terms of the trash collection. So those could go away and we could do a little bit of a concrete bump out as you're suggesting for a little bit of a turnaround relief at those ends.
I'm a little confused about what you said about the dumpsters and what you would do instead. And if that's just one dumpster for 8 or, two dumpsters for 30 units, that would never be adequate.
Yes,
For
and if the
a lot
city-
of our, sorry, for a lot of our developments, our HOA will do private trash pickup, similar to what the city would do, and we wouldn't require the dumpsters.
So what, they'd have trash cans?
Mhm.
Correct.
I'm all for density, guys. I just think, there are these, I mean, and this is your business, but these back driveways here are, a lot, and they're not very attractive, and it's hard to ever make that attractive. I just think there's ways to free up the site plan a little bit. And as John said earlier, if it has to be 30 units, I don't know what we're asking for here tonight. It's like you almost need we need a little bit of elbow room, and then you can make this spectacular. And you could probably loosen these things up a little bit. You can get them a little bit in from Taylor. I'm not saying a lot, but a yard here in University Heights, while it's not a townhouse, there's still a certain distance that feels right, especially on a road like Taylor. Sorry, I have a dog.
We think the setbacks on Taylor are appropriate for that more commercial district. And again, we are within the regulations of the zoning district, so we're pretty comfortable with those setbacks on Taylor. Again, we did study the site plan extensively. This is not the first version of it that you're seeing. And we feel to achieve the density that we need to make this a viable project, but also provide a pleasant and positive pedestrian experience on the site, that this is our best option.
One other crazy question. Have you ever looked at stacking the units? Meaning it's first and second floor is one thing, and third and fourth probably doesn't work for sale. That would give you the units you need, but it's
That bumps it into condo, which we are not interested in building condos.
yeah. Yeah, I see. No, it could be, and then you get the 30 units you need, or there's a couple of that are just smaller and whatever.
No, I mean, we've had a lot of success recently with this type of urban style townhouse, and we're pretty comfortable that we can sell these, that these would be successful, that people will want to buy these and want to live in them. And again, this density.
I get it. I'm just looking for a more dynamic plan with some spaces that you could probably really take advantage of by, you've got a whole free amenity to the north. And, we're just having sides of units with sort of blank walls, basically looking there, where you could have 10 or 11 units actually looking into the park. It's just, it's Central Park. I've got a fabulous park already there. It's right there for me.
We do feel like we're providing an amenity by installing that park to the north, and we could certainly look at adding more side windows, particularly to those units. I think that's a great idea to help upplay that as a feature.
Getting back to something that Mr. Rock said, I think I'd like to see more options with respect to the rooftop decks and being able to have a downtown view. And part of the question, somebody else, may have been Mr. Simborski, may have been Mr. Klein, I don't remember who made the suggestion about getting a drone out there and actually knowing how high up you have to be to clear the area in order to actually get that view. Yeah, I realize this time of year it's kind of hazy to see, but what's the name? And Hannah, I know that you weren't part of those initial discussions, but hearing it again this evening, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up here.
We can certainly see what we can do to approximate what the view is going to be. Potentially Christina and Garrett, I know they have some pretty good modeling software. They might be able to mock something up for us too. So we'll look into what we can do to provide some more clarification on that.
All right, thank you.
A question about that. Would you, it seems like you wouldn't have the view. We still don't quite know what the view would be, but it seems like you wouldn't have the view with the roof line facing Taylor, right? Like you can't have the view unless the whole thing turns 90 degrees. Is that? How would you see above the roof?
That's what I was
180
recommending,
degrees.
looking at the roof and the roof deck.
Yeah, I mean, if the deck were higher, even if you had a gable, I mean, people down below aren't necessarily going to see the roof deck, but if you're up on the roof deck, you're able to see downtown.
Yeah, I think it would be great. It would be a cool experience. I'm more excited about that than sitting on the balcony looking at the cars going to the garage after work. I mean,
Sure.
I just wonder, I guess, if you kill two birds with one stone with Mr. Szymborski's like suggestion to turn the whole thing 90 degrees. And I know it's not that simple, but then it seems like you get more rooftop views of downtown if there's a view to be had. And you probably get a lot more people wanting to buy that rooftop deck, you know, that you can sell them for extra money.
I mean, just imagine if everything turned 90 degrees and I, you know, here I am, architect, shouldn't be playing that game. And I've got these fabulous rooftop things. And I think there's an appetite in this city for contemporary stuff, however we want to treat it. Doesn't always have to be ye olde. And I've got these rooftop decks that are looking north and east and across that park. And, you know, I would encourage you guys to get a drone and see what you can get. And, you know, I just think there's ways to reducing the pavement and still getting what you want. And yeah, it would probably require an entry and exit off Taylor, and it's turning your whole thing around. But I just think if it's fabulous, you can command more money. I'm a capitalist as well.
I think for us, you know, we have a lot of different perspectives that we have to balance in this. I mean, your comments about the drive-through from Wynn to Taylor and reducing the pavement, those are adjustments that we've just made in response to some comments from the fire department, from the police department, who have sort of an opposite view on what you're saying. So, you know, we're trying to appease everyone involved and come up with a design that we feel we can sell and be successful with. So, you know, we really appreciate your suggestions, and we'll certainly try to incorporate as much as we can, but we do have, you know, we're getting some conflicting feedback, so it's a little bit of a juggling act for us.
Sure, we can bridge the gap and put us all together and talk about it someday, even if it's offline.
Sure, yeah, we'd be.
We just want excellence, excellence. You know, and long-lasting stuff and fabulous stuff and stuff you can sell rather than selling for $350, you can sell it for $425.
I do want to mention that this is one of the few townhouse projects in this area, and this is a new area for us. We are comfortable. We've had some success with single family homes in University Heights, but this is a big project for us, and we know our customers. We know, you know, this is our bread and butter, what we're doing here. I know that we can develop this successfully, sell it successfully, and it will be a great project. I don't know that we can sell a $500,000 townhouse with city views here as successfully. So it becomes a much riskier proposition for us to go outside of what we think the market can successfully bear and what we're comfortable with.
And I totally respect that, but I'm also looking long-term as well. You know, how are these going to hold up over the next 30 years? If it's excellent design and great views and just this really dynamic place to live, and people are going to want to live there even 20 years from now, then that's important to me too, is how this is going to hold up. And I appreciate that you're going to be able to turn these around and sell these, and we're going to get taxpayers into our city. Then I really appreciate that. But you know, if it's losing the amenities and that's just not in favor of somebody 10 years down the road, then what does this become? And I don't want this to become another college frat house. You know what I'm saying? So that does concern me. So I agree with my counterparts that we should look at quality over quantity. And I think that's going to register long-term as well.
One thing we could look at, and I don't know if
So everyone's still there?
Hannah, I don't know if you can hear us, but you're frozen.
Yeah, Hannah, you're frozen. We can't
Yeah.
hear you. All we heard was one thing we could look at, and then you dropped out.
Mayor, is there an approval or what are we looking for tonight? I'm running out of time. I'll zip.
We were looking for site plan approval tonight.
Oh,
This is Luke McConville again. While folks have been talking, there was one thing that I remembered from the history of the project that I just want to sort of fill in the blank on, which was that the other reason that we were suggesting that all of the units be kept in University Heights, and I think one of the motivations of the developer to keep all the units in University Heights was that the city about 2 years ago created a community reinvestment area, which consists of the entire landmass of the city. And as a result of the creation of that CRA, we're able to offer real estate tax abatement on new construction. And so that goes into the marketing of the properties. And I just don't know whether, Cleveland Heights would be able to create a CRA or whether that's already in a, I don't know what their tax abatement situation is, but it certainly makes that piece of the project more complicated and potentially more difficult to market and sell. So I think that was another factor in suggesting it be developed that way. The other thing that I would put out there, just I guess, Michael David, for your response and thoughts is, a couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago now, a group of us were on a Zoom conference to review site plan. We hadn't seen elevations yet, but we were talking about site plan and the administration's thoughts and walking through process issues and also encouraging you to do exactly what you've done, which is meet with our engineer and our fire department and police department, or at least provide them materials for their review. And when we were on that Zoom conference, one of the things we indicated was that we have a very inquisitive planning commission and that they will put you through the paces and they will seek to make comments and so forth. And I'm wondering if the project might best be served by tabling the matter to the next monthly meeting and having you folks do a little due diligence and maybe having a few more offline conversations before planning commission members consider site plan approval. I'd be interested in hearing whether that's feasible from a timing standpoint, and if you've heard anything tonight that would cause you to tweak anything or take another look. So I put that out there for your feedback.
Yeah, I think based on
I don't want to be the difficult guy. I am appreciative of the investment here, and our taxes are crazy. And so I appreciate the investment. I just think we can do better. And if we could talk together, and I'd be happy to be proven wrong. And John's brought up some good points. The mayor's brought up some good points. I'm concerned about the density. I'm concerned about really practicality and snow removal, just the regiment of this plan. It's lacking the imagination, the planning is. And I think there can be some more imagination a little bit. That's just my 2 cents.
I'm sorry, I got disconnected a few minutes ago, but what I was trying to say was if it would be helpful for the group, we could arrange a tour of some of our other townhome projects so you can see this kind of density that we've built. You can see our quality up close and personal, and you can get a better understanding of us as a builder and maybe a better comfort level with our site plans in some more urban areas. So if that's of interest to the group, we would be happy to set something up.
I'd be happy to share some ideas if you'd be receptive to those, my 40 years of planning. So, but that's all I have to offer. I'm receptive to see your work, but I think I know what it is. I mean, I could read the drawings. I think it's gonna, I think the density, I love density, you know, but it's, after 3 years, I think it's gonna, you know, the novelty is gonna wear off, and I think I just think there's a little bit more creativity that could happen here, if I can say that as a planning commissioner.
Yeah, I think Luke and Mayor, we would be open to the opportunity to table this and meet with members of Planning Commission and discuss some of the comments that have been raised today to see if there are any ways that we can accommodate the various concerns that have been brought up.
Okay, well,
What happens when there's collaboration with us, with you, clients, builders, city officials, truly. And just, my time is something I'd be love to just share with and learn a little bit more from you guys before we just try to stamp something. And I just think there's this whole park to the north that we're missing. This green space that we could treat as ours. Like this, like New York City, you know, the buildings wrap the parks. They don't turn their side to it.
I agree with that, and I'm very excited about this development. I don't want you to
I am
think
too.
I'm not. I mean, we've been working on this on city council for a couple of years, so I'm very, very, very excited about it. I just want to do it right. I actually want to live here. I mean, I have a residency requirement. I have to stay in University Heights. This is a place where I could live, and I just want it to be done right and beautiful, and with everything that we talked about. So I'm comfortable tabling this to make sure some of the concerns that were addressed today are incorporated into the site plan and in the next meeting.
yes,
Michael, look at what was done up at that development on Green and whatever, across from the golf course. You know, they made it as tall as they can, as big as they can, with these vinyl windows that are as flush as they can. NRP did it. Green and darn, whatever road runs through there. Chagrin. They maxed that thing out, wrapped it with pavement, and then walked away from it. And it's falling apart in front of our eyes, but they maxed it out and they sold it to somebody. And I'm just, you know.
Well, I would like to comment that we don't build products that fall apart in a few years. I mean, that's not
I apologize, but we got terribly burned at University Circle, you know, with the shopping center there and the parking garage. And we want you guys to have.
yeah, no, they had nothing to do with that either, Paul. You know,
I know that. I know that. But we want you to have success and do more of this here.
And
So that's all.
the other item, I appreciate the comments from the commission. One of the things I think we struggle with is your views as architects and appreciating architecture are a lot of times different than the views of our clients and your community. So while you may want very modern, very cutting edge or rooftop decks, things like that, when we go to sell them, people are saying, why are you building this modern townhouse in the middle of our community with pitched roofs and all brick? And the views just sometimes don't translate. So I would ask you to consider that we're also taking into context the potential clients who come to University Heights thinking of University Heights in a certain way.
Good point.
And I appreciate that comment, but you're already proposing roof decks. So just put them in the right spot instead of facing the garage. You know, the program's there. We just have to tinker with it.
Understood. I just wish that you guys were in the city of Cleveland when we're proposing some modern townhouses there.
I'm jealous.
Hannah, I have seen other Knez developments. It's one of the reasons the CIC went this direction with Knez is because myself and Mr. Conville and some others in the city have been either officially with Bo and others to see Knez projects or are familiar with them in other contexts. They have friends or know folks who have purchased one elsewhere in Greater Cleveland. So one of the reasons we chose you because from the CIC point of view was because we liked what Knez Construction does and we wanted to see some of that here. The density was something we were embracing here, I think, but I do think that Paul does bring up some interesting points with respect to whether it's whether the layout on the space is it's good, but can it be better? And then John brought up the thing about the decks, which I did touch on pre-administratively, but I also hearing it again tonight, I do think we need to give a fresh look at that.
Okay,
I just wanted to add really quick, my experience as a resident of University Heights. We actually have a lot of med students that come in and out of our community. So I really wouldn't count out that population that might be looking for exactly this type of product for our community. I could see tons of resident doctors being really interested in having rooftop decks and probably right at your price point and, interested in low maintenance homes. So I don't know if you kind of already knew the demographics of our community, but if it's
Well, I love the product. I always say we have two choices here after our kids are grown and gone. We either move to Solon or Florida. So, if there's something else a product we can offer here, especially something that you're showing, and sometimes smaller is better too. Man, I'm all for it. My house is new and I designed it. Do I need 2,000 square feet? No.
And I grant that these aren't for everybody, but not every home is for everybody. That's the whole idea too, is that we're trying to diversify our offerings here in the city, and this does offer them something that we don't presently have. So I get, and I've had family that's lived in New York City, so when it comes to parking issues, the view is going to be way different there than it is here with respect to that Midwestern surface parking view. But here, if you Midwest surface parking view, you're probably not buying this anyway. So putting some faith in the idea that the absence of guest parking is not necessarily a detriment, but it nevertheless is something that has come up through this review process, and I think taking one more look at that, especially if we're going to take a fresh look at where they're fixed on the property, whether that lends itself to any kind of guest option. I mean, when we live in the Amazon Prime world where people are riding up all the time, dropping off a box and riding away, where does that Amazon Prime truck go? Even if it's just for a minute. I don't know.
Good point.
Anyway,
Good point.
I think we've covered a lot of ground here this evening. And I appreciate Michael and Hannah running the gauntlet here, and Garrett for watching. Picking on you a little bit. Did you have something that we didn't get to? I'm sorry. I feel like we.
I think we got through all of our presentation.
All right. Good. Okay. All right, well then, I guess a motion to table would be in order if we're done, at least for this, at this point. Is there a motion? Or I can make it, I suppose. I will then move to table this to the February meeting. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Simborski. Any discussion? Michael, David, I think I appreciate what you said about, looking at these things and regrouping and maybe making some additional inquiry and looking at this some more and being prepared for another go at it next time.
Absolutely.
And I'm just happy
Very much for your time.
if anybody wants my email, Kelly's got it, and John or whatever, happy to give you my.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll reach out to Kelly and see about coordinating between anyone who's interested in talking.
super,
about it.
super, okay. Thank you. Thank you for the investment here and listening to us. I've had 3 homes in University Heights, and I've been able to add on the one and build one freestanding. And I just, I love the community but we have to position good product for us, for this community to be viable. It's expensive here. So really appreciate the investment and a little bit of collaboration here, Michael.
Absolutely. We're happy to be here. So
Great.
look forward.
Very good.
Just for next time, really quick, any of the work that you've done that can help us understand your understanding of the market and your buyer. I mean, without, not a 50-page report, obviously, but that might be helpful to us as well.
Absolutely. We can send you over maybe some of our marketing materials that show some of our projects and the features, and you can get a better sense of our clients from that.
Yeah, because I appreciate, what you said about we're a subset of residents of University Heights. We don't represent everybody, and you have a certain understanding of your client. So just helping us to see some of your challenges in meeting your market would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. I suppose I'll call the question. Mrs. Thomas, will you call the roll?
Mayor Brennan,
Yes.
Mrs. Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Simborski,
Yes.
Mr. Fine,
Yes.
Mr. Rock.
Yes.
Okay, the matter's tabled to the next meeting, and I look forward to the next time. I'm sure we all do. So thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here
Thank you all.
and everything you've done so
Make a
far.
motion to adjourn.
We need a motion to adjourn.
We do.
Second.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Rock, second by Mr. Fine. Mrs. Thomas, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Brennan,
Yes.
Mrs. Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Simborski, Mr. Fine,
Yes.
Mr. Rock.
Yes.
Okay, very good. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see you in February.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.